Hi everybody, my name's Sandy Beach and I'm an alcoholic. How you all doing? I'll tell you a little bit about my story, and then I like to talk about the fellowship because it's so much fun to do that. So very briefly, I grew up obviously in the early 30s in New Haven, Connecticut. My parents were a product of the Depression, and so they had to work very hard. They supported my sister and I, did a wonderful job. I never felt like I belonged. I don't know where that came from. My mother was Catholic. I went to the Catholic Church. My sister sat next to me in the Catholic Church. And to this day, she loves it and considers it the most friendly place she ever went. She just thought the nuns were cute. The Latin was cute. Purgatory was cute. Everything was cute. And she got nothing but comfort and peace from the entire presentation. I, on the other hand, made up a different story about what they were telling to me, and it scared me to death. I was terrified to be in there, and they just knew they were getting me. I never wanted to die because the punishment was going to be so severe, and so not much comfort. And I was about 8 years old, and sometimes you have these spiritual insights. And I was sitting in the front pew, staring at the crucifix, which was about 20 feet tall, hanging from the ceiling. You could not miss it. And it was as if it spoke to me, and it said, "Little boy, do you see this?" Well, yes. Well, this is what God did to his only son that he loved. And guess what he's going to do to you? So I think I fainted and fell out of the pew, and they carried me out of the church. And so I found it obviously very conflicted inside of myself, but at an early age I learned one thing: don't talk to people about anything. So I spent the rest of my life explaining everything to me on my own. And so that's where all of my old ideas came from that became so frightening and disorienting, and all of that was just, I made them all up and I stuck to them. Once you lock in an idea, you're not going to change it or you'll look weak. Even if it's obvious you're wrong. It was something about, I know I'm in jail, but I got here. You see what I'm saying? I did this. And but I did well in school, and I ended up in a little prep school, and I was a good athlete. I had very high grades, and it was a pipeline right into Yale. I got down there, and all these people came from around the United States, and they were all rich and smart, and they all knew what was going on, and I knew I didn't belong there. And I knew that sometime during that freshman year, the dean was going to call out, there's about 1,000 freshmen, and he was going to announce on the old campus, "Gentlemen, we have an imposter in our midst." And there he is, and they were going to finally expose me for what I was and get me out of there. Well, it didn't happen, and I was very nervous at all times. I just couldn't fit in anywhere, but I hadn't had a drink yet. And my roommates are telling me, "Geez, you're 18 years old, you ought to be having drinks. This is what college is for, to make you feel good." And I've talked about this, and every time I give a talk, that I went to a social event, and I was supposed to meet these other 20 guys, and I couldn't. I'd walk up to a group, and with their eyes, I don't know if you're aware of this, but people can communicate things to you with their eyes. And as I approached each group, they looked at me and made it very clear they did not want to know me and would appreciate it if I would go somewhere else. But that group didn't want to know me, and I never met anyone. And I was about to leave, which is what you do when you can't handle the situation. Look at the pressure I was under. And there was a bar there, and so I decided to have a drink, even though I was going to try and stay away from that stuff. And I had 2.5, and I was on that third one, and I had the feeling it wasn't working. So I put it down, I was just ready to leave, and I looked back at the guys, and everyone in the room was looking at me, and their eyes were saying, "I'd give anything to be your friend." I couldn't believe what had happened. the world that I lived in was so wonderful. I mean, these people were wonderful. I was so excited. I started running over to the first group. And on my way over, I had the feeling they were right. They would be lucky to know me. God bless it. And I just intuitively knew how to handle everything. Social event, conversation. And as the evening went on, I realized that alcohol had removed all these barriers to me and my creativity. I could now be me. I had never been me before. I was always hiding in there somewhere. And I thought to myself, you should have started drinking in grammar school. This is amazing. So alcohol didn't change me, but it changed the world that I lived in. And all of a sudden, I loved this world. I loved the world. I just talked about it, but it went away when I got up in the morning. And I was back in the old world, the scary world. So I could hardly wait for the day to get over so that I could go down and enter the Technicolor world. And very soon, the priority became drinking. And my grades started to get bad. I didn't seem to care too much about studying anymore. I gave up on making the track team. And started getting in fights. I went to jail a few times. And it was obvious that a lot of trouble was coming. But as far as I was concerned, all of that trouble was a small price to pay for what I got out of drinking. And that's why I'm an alcoholic. And that's the great joy of AA, is to just be one more drunk, putting the meeting together, putting the conference together, and reaping the rewards that very few people see. Thank you all very much.